Alexander the Great, Alexander III of Macedon, more commonly known as Alexander the Great, is one of history's most iconic figures. Born in 356 BCE in Pella, the capital of Macedon, his name has become synonymous with unparalleled military genius and relentless ambition. In his short life of 32 years, Alexander created one of the largest empires the world had ever seen, stretching from Greece to Egypt and as far as India. But who was the man behind the legend, and how did he accomplish such extraordinary feats? Let's dive into the life and legacy of Alexander the Great. Alexander was born into royalty as the son of King Philip II of Macedon and Queen Olympias. From a young age, he exhibited exceptional intelligence and leadership skills. Tutored by the great philosopher Aristotle, Alexander was instilled with a love for philosophy, science, and literature. However, his greatest passion was the art of war, a skill he honed under the guidance of his father, who had transformed Macedon into a formidable military power. In 336 BCE, at the age of 20, Alexander ascended to the throne after the assassination of his father. Almost immediately, he set his sights on fulfilling Philip's dream of conquering the Persian Empire. Alexander wasted no time in consolidating his power at home, quelling revolts, and securing alliances. Then, in 334 BCE, he embarked on his legendary campaign against Persia. Alexander's military strategies were revolutionary. His army, though smaller than the Persian forces, was highly trained, disciplined, and innovative. At the Battle of Issus in 333 BCE, he faced Darius III, the Persian king, in one of his most famous victories. Despite being outnumbered, Alexander's tactical brilliance turned the tide of the battle, forcing Darius to flee and leaving the Persian Empire vulnerable. But Alexander's ambitions went beyond Persia. He marched into Egypt, where he was welcomed as a liberator and crowned as a pharaoh. It was here, in 331 BCE, that he founded the city of Alexandria, which would become a center of learning and culture for centuries to come. After securing Egypt, Alexander resumed his campaign against Persia, culminating in the decisive Battle of Gaugamela. This victory effectively marked the end of the Persian Empire and solidified Alexander's reputation as an unstoppable conqueror. Alexander's conquests didn't stop there. He pushed further east, leading his army through the rugged terrain of Central Asia and into the Indian subcontinent. In 326 BCE, he faced King Porus in the Battle of the Hydaspes. Although Alexander emerged victorious, the campaign tested the limits of his army, which was exhausted after years of relentless warfare. Faced with growing dissent among his troops, Alexander was forced to turn back, marking the easternmost point of his empire. While his military achievements were unparalleled, Alexander's legacy extends far beyond the battlefield. He was a visionary who sought to unite the diverse cultures of his empire under a single Hellenistic civilization. He encouraged the blending of Greek, Persian, Egyptian, and Indian traditions, promoting cultural exchange and the spread of knowledge. However, his methods were not without controversy. While some saw him as a liberator, others viewed him as a ruthless conqueror who imposed his will through force. Alexander's life was cut short in 323 BCE when he died in Babylon at the age of 32. The cause of his death remains a subject of debate, with theories ranging from malaria to poisoning. His sudden demise left his empire without a clear successor, leading to decades of turmoil as his generals, known as the Diadochi, fought for control. Despite the fragmentation of his empire, Alexander's influence endured. His campaign spread Greek culture across 3 continents, laying the foundation for the Hellenistic era. Cities he founded, such as Alexandria in Egypt, became thriving centers of learning, trade, and culture. His vision of a unified world, though never fully realized, inspired countless leaders and thinkers throughout history. Today, Alexander the Great is remembered as one of the most remarkable figures in history. His military tactics are still studied in academies around the world, and his legacy continues to captivate historians, writers, and the public. Alexander was more than just a conqueror. He was a force of nature who reshaped the ancient world and left an indelible mark on history. King Arthur stands as one of the most enduring figures in history and mythology. Although his existence remains a topic of debate among historians, his legend has inspired countless tales of chivalry, heroism, and justice. From Camelot and the Knights of the Round Table to the mystical Excalibur and the quest for the Holy Grail, Arthur's story has become a cornerstone of Western folklore. But who was King Arthur, and why has his legacy captivated the world for centuries? The origins of Arthur's legend are shrouded in mystery. Some scholars believe he was a real figure, possibly a 5th or 6th century British leader who resisted Saxon invasions. Others argue that Arthur is a composite of various historical figures or entirely mythical. Regardless, the earliest written accounts, such as those by Geoffrey of Monmouth in the 12th century, solidified his place in history as a king who united Britain and upheld justice. Central to the Arthurian legend is Camelot, the utopian court where knights gathered around the Round Table as equals. This concept of equality, along with the chivalric code of honor, loyalty, and courage, became a defining feature of Arthurian tales. Under Arthur's leadership, Camelot symbolized an ideal kingdom, one where might served right and justice prevailed. Arthur's iconic sword, Excalibur, adds another layer of mysticism to his legend. In some versions, he pulls the sword from a stone, proving his divine right to rule. In others, the Lady of the Lake presents the sword to him. Excalibur represents Arthur's power and his connection to a higher purpose. Yet, Arthur's story is not without its darker elements. His reign is marked by betrayal and tragedy, most notably through his nephew or son, Mordred. According to the legend, Mordred rebels against Arthur, leading to a climactic battle where both are mortally wounded. This betrayal underscores the fragile nature of power and the human flaws that even a legendary king could not escape. Another pivotal element of Arthurian lore is the quest for the Holy Grail, a symbol of divine grace and spiritual fulfillment. The Grail quest brought Arthur's knights face to face with their own virtues and weaknesses, reinforcing themes of redemption and the eternal struggle between good and evil. Despite the tragic end to Arthur's reign, his legend concludes with a glimmer of hope. According to the tale, Arthur is taken to the mystical Isle of Avalon to heal, with the promise that he will one day return when Britain needs him most. This element of the story has cemented Arthur as not just a king of the past, but a symbol of hope and resilience for the future. The legacy of King Arthur extends far beyond medieval Britain. His story has been retold in countless forms: literature, art, film, and music, each generation finding new inspiration in his ideals of bravery, unity, and justice. From the romanticized epics of the Middle Ages to modern interpretations in movies and TV, Arthur remains a timeless figure whose story resonates across cultures and centuries. Today, King Arthur's name continues to evoke images of honor, leadership, and the eternal fight for what is right. Whether he was a real historical figure or a creation of legend, Arthur's impact on the world is undeniable. He represents the human desire for a just and noble leader, someone who strives to create a better world despite the odds. Pharaoh Ramses II, often referred to as Ramses the Great, is one of the most celebrated and powerful rulers in ancient Egyptian history. His reign, which spanned an incredible 66 years from 1279 to 1213 BCE, is synonymous with grandeur, military triumphs, and architectural achievements that still inspire awe today. Known as the Great Ancestor, Ramses II's legacy continues to captivate historians, archaeologists, and the public alike. But who was Ramses II, and how did he earn his place as one of history's greatest kings? Ramses II was born into royalty, the third pharaoh of Egypt's 19th dynasty. His father, Pharaoh Seti I, groomed him for leadership from an early age, granting him military responsibilities while he was still a teenager. By the time Ramses ascended the throne, he had already proven himself as a capable leader, setting the stage for one of the most remarkable reigns in ancient history. One of Ramses II's defining achievements was his military prowess. Early in his reign, he led campaigns to secure Egypt's borders and expand its influence. His most famous battle was the Battle of Kadesh in 1274 BCE, where he faced the formidable Hittite Empire. Although the battle ended in a stalemate, Ramses declared it a victory and commemorated it with grand inscriptions and monuments. This engagement ultimately led to one of the first known peace treaties in history, a testament to Ramses' diplomatic acumen as well as his military skill. Ramses II was not only a warrior, but also a builder on an unprecedented scale. He embarked on an ambitious construction program, commissioning temples, monuments, and statues that proclaimed his divine power and legacy. Among his most iconic works are the temples of Abu Simbel, carved into a mountainside to honor himself and his queen Nefertari. These colossal statues continue to symbolize the grandeur of ancient Egypt. Ramses also expanded the Karnak and Luxor temples, leaving an indelible mark on Egyptian architecture. Beyond his military and architectural accomplishments, Ramses II is renowned for his role as a stabilizing force in Egypt. His long reign brought an era of relative peace and prosperity, during which the arts, culture, and economy flourished. He strengthened Egypt's position as a dominant power in the ancient world, fostering trade and forging alliances that ensured the kingdom's stability. Ramses' personal life was equally extraordinary. He is believed to have had over 100 children with his numerous wives and concubines. His favorite queen, Nefertari, held a special place in his heart, and he honored her with a magnificent tomb in the Valley of the Queens, adorned with breathtaking artwork that remains a marvel of ancient Egyptian art. Despite his incredible accomplishments, Ramses II was not without controversy. His reign has been criticized by some for its self-aggrandizement and his tendency to exaggerate his achievements. His inscriptions often depicted him as a divine figure, chosen by the gods to rule, blurring the line between fact and propaganda. However, such portrayals were typical of the time and played a vital role in reinforcing his authority. Ramses II lived to the age of approximately 90, a remarkable lifespan for the era, earning him the distinction of being one of the longest reigning pharaohs in Egyptian history. His death marked the end of an era, and his burial in the Valley of the Kings solidified his status as a legend. Although his tomb was later looted, his mummy was rediscovered in the 19th century, and it now resides in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, offering a tangible connection to one of history's most iconic rulers. The legacy of Ramses II transcends his lifetime. His reign became a golden age in Egyptian history, often used as a benchmark against which other pharaohs were measured. The monuments he left behind continue to inspire awe and admiration, standing as testaments to his vision and ambition. For modern Egyptologists and historians, Ramses represents the pinnacle of ancient Egyptian civilization, a king whose influence shaped the course of history. Ramses II's story is one of unparalleled ambition, resilience, and vision. His life reminds us of the enduring power of leadership and the impact of a ruler's legacy on the world. As one of the most extraordinary figures in history, Ramses the Great remains a symbol of ancient Egypt's grandeur and ingenuity. King Louis XIV, the Sun King who shaped an era. King Louis XIV, also known as the Sun King, reigned over France for an astonishing 72 years, from 1643 to 1715. His rule is the longest of any monarch in European history, and his legacy is as vast as his ambition. Known for his opulent court at Versailles, his centralization of power, and his influence over European politics, culture, and art, Louis XIV was more than just a king. He was a symbol of absolute monarchy. But how did Louis XIV rise to such prominence, and what made his reign so transformative? Born in 1638 to King Louis XIII and Queen Anne of Austria, Louis inherited the throne at just 4 years old after his father's death. During his minority, France was governed by his mother and Cardinal Mazarin, whose regency was marked by instability and rebellion. These early challenges shaped Louis's resolve to consolidate power and ensure that no one could challenge his authority. When Louis assumed full control of the government in 1661, after Mazarin's death, he embarked on a mission to centralize authority and eliminate the influence of the nobility over state affairs. He famously declared, "L'État, c'est moi," I am the state, reflecting his belief in the divine right of kings. Louis made the monarchy the center of French political life, reducing the power of feudal lords and relying instead on loyal ministers like Jean-Baptiste Colbert to manage the economy. One of Louis XIV's most enduring legacies is the Palace of Versailles, which he transformed from a modest hunting lodge into a symbol of royal grandeur. Versailles was not just a home, but a statement of power, designed to awe both his subjects and foreign dignitaries. It also served as a political tool, as Louis required the nobility to live at court, keeping them under his watchful eye and away from plotting rebellions in their own territories. Louis's reign was also defined by his military ambitions. Determined to expand France's borders and secure its position as the dominant power in Europe, he waged numerous wars, including the Franco-Dutch War, the War of the League of Augsburg, and the War of the Spanish Succession. While these conflicts brought territorial gains, they also strained France's finances and left a legacy of resentment among its neighbors. Culturally, Louis XIV's reign was a golden age. He was a patron of the arts, supporting writers like Molière and Racine, and promoting the development of ballet and opera. His influence extended beyond the arts to fashion, architecture, and etiquette, making French culture the standard for European courts. Under Louis, France became the cultural and intellectual capital of Europe. However, Louis's absolutism came at a cost. His revocation of the Edict of Nantes in 1685, which had granted religious tolerance to Protestants, led to persecution and the exodus of thousands of Huguenots, weakening France's economy and international reputation. His relentless pursuit of power and lavish spending left the country deeply in debt, sowing seeds of discontent that would erupt in the French Revolution decades later. Despite these challenges, Louis XIV's legacy as the Sun King endures. He transformed France into a centralized, powerful state and set a standard for monarchy that influenced rulers across Europe. His reign marked the height of the Ancien Regime, and today, Louis XIV is remembered as a complex figure, a visionary leader who elevated France to unprecedented heights, but whose ambition and excesses came at great cost. His life and reign continue to fascinate historians, offering lessons in leadership, power, and the delicate balance between greatness and hubris. King Solomon, the wisest and wealthiest king in history. King Solomon, a central figure in the Bible, is renowned for his unparalleled wisdom, immense wealth, and significant contributions to Israel's history. The son of King David and Bathsheba, Solomon's reign, circa 970 to 931 BCE, marked a golden age for ancient Israel, characterized by prosperity, architectural marvels, and international influence. Revered as a wise and just ruler, Solomon's story is one of grandeur, complexity, and enduring legacy. Solomon ascended to the throne as a young man following the death of his father, King David. In one of his first acts as king, Solomon sought guidance from God, asking for wisdom to govern his people. This request, recorded in 1 Kings 3:9, pleased God, who granted Solomon not only wisdom but also riches and honor, ensuring his fame would surpass all other kings of his time. Solomon's wisdom became legendary, as demonstrated in the famous story of two women who claimed to be the mother of the same child. Solomon's suggestion to divide the child in two revealed the true mother, showcasing his ability to discern truth and deliver justice. This story, among many others, cemented his reputation as a ruler whose intellect and judgment were unmatched. Under Solomon's leadership, Israel experienced unprecedented economic prosperity and political stability. He established extensive trade networks, forging alliances with neighboring kingdoms like Tyre and Egypt. These alliances not only enriched Israel, but also elevated its standing on the global stage. Solomon's reign is perhaps most remembered for his monumental building projects, particularly the construction of the first temple in Jerusalem. Built as a dwelling place for the Ark of the Covenant, the temple became the spiritual and cultural heart of Israel. The Bible describes its grandeur in vivid detail, with gold-covered interiors, intricate carvings, and sacred furnishings. This achievement symbolized Israel's strength and dedication to God. However, Solomon's reign was not without controversy. His lavish lifestyle and heavy taxation to fund his projects created tension among his people. Additionally, his marriages to hundreds of foreign women, many of whom worshipped other gods, led to accusations of idolatry. The Bible recounts that these alliances ultimately drew Solomon away from his devotion to God, causing division within the kingdom. Despite these flaws, Solomon's contributions to literature and philosophy have left an indelible mark on history. He is traditionally credited with authoring several books of the Bible, including Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and the Song of Solomon. These works explore themes of wisdom, love, and the meaning of life, offering insights that continue to resonate with readers across cultures and generations. Solomon's reign ended in turmoil, as internal strife and dissatisfaction among his subjects foreshadowed the eventual division of the kingdom. After his death, Israel split into the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah, a fragmentation that weakened the nation for centuries. The legacy of King Solomon is one of both inspiration and caution. He represents the heights of human achievement and the perils of straying from one's values. His wisdom and accomplishments continue to be celebrated, while his mistakes serve as reminders of the challenges that come with power and prosperity. Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the visionary who united China. Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China, stands as one of history's most transformative and enigmatic rulers. Born in 259 BCE, his reign marked the end of centuries of warfare between warring states and the beginning of a centralized imperial system that would endure for over 2 millennia. Known for his sweeping reforms, monumental achievements, and ruthless methods, Qin Shi Huang's legacy is both awe-inspiring and controversial. But who was this visionary leader, and how did he shape the course of Chinese history? Qin Shi Huang, born as Yingzheng, became the king of Qin at the age of 13, following the death of his father. Despite his youth, Yingzheng displayed remarkable ambition and intelligence, surrounding himself with capable advisors and military strategists. By 221 BCE, after a series of military campaigns and strategic alliances, he succeeded in unifying the 7 warring states, declaring himself the first emperor of China. One of Qin Shi Huang's most enduring legacies was his commitment to centralization. To solidify his control over the vast and diverse territories of China, he implemented a series of reforms that standardized weights, measures, currency, and even the written script. These measures not only facilitated trade and communication, but also reinforced a sense of unity across the empire. His legalist philosophy emphasized strict laws and harsh punishments, ensuring loyalty and order, but often at the cost of individual freedoms. Qin Shi Huang's reign was also marked by monumental architectural projects. The most famous of these is the Great Wall of China, which he initiated to protect the empire from northern invaders. Though much of the wall seen today was built in later dynasties, its origins can be traced back to Qin Shi Huang's vision of a fortified northern border. Another remarkable achievement was his massive mausoleum near modern-day Xi'an, guarded by the world-famous Terracotta Army, an enduring testament to his quest for immortality and his belief in the afterlife. Despite his achievements, Qin Shi Huang's rule was not without controversy. His authoritarian methods and relentless pursuit of power made him a feared and often resented figure. He ordered the infamous burning of books and burying of scholars to suppress dissent and eliminate ideas that contradicted his legalist ideology. This act, though aimed at strengthening his authority, left a lasting stain on his legacy. Qin Shi Huang's obsession with immortality also defined much of his later life. He commissioned alchemists and scholars to develop elixirs of eternal life, traveling extensively across his empire in search of mythical islands where immortality was said to be attainable. Ironically, his relentless pursuit of immortality may have hastened his death, as many of the substances he consumed contained toxic elements like mercury. The first emperor's death in 210 BCE triggered a series of events that would unravel his empire. His court was rife with intrigue, and his heirs were unable to maintain the unity he had forged. Within a few years of his passing, the Qin dynasty collapsed, giving way to the Han dynasty. While his dynasty was short-lived, Qin Shi Huang's impact on China endured, laying the foundation for the imperial system that would define Chinese governance for centuries. Qin Shi Huang's legacy is a complex tapestry of triumph and tragedy. He was a visionary leader whose reforms and achievements united a fractured land and propelled China into a new era. Yet, his ruthless methods and relentless ambition serve as a reminder of the fine line between greatness and tyranny. Today, Emperor Qin Shi Huang is remembered as both a unifier and a despot, a figure whose influence shaped the course of history. His story is one of ambition, innovation, and the enduring quest for power and immortality. King Henry VIII, the monarch who redefined England. King Henry VIII of England, one of history's most famous and controversial monarchs, reigned from 1509 to 1547. Known for his 6 marriages and dramatic break with the Roman Catholic Church, Henry's rule marked a transformative era in English history. His reign brought political and religious upheaval, monumental reforms, and an enduring legacy that shaped the nation for centuries. But who was the man behind the crown, and what drove his tumultuous decisions? Born in 1491, Henry VIII was the second son of King Henry VII. Originally destined for a life in the clergy, he became heir to the throne after his elder brother Arthur's untimely death in 1502. Henry's early years as king were marked by his charisma, intellect, and physical prowess, earning him admiration at home and abroad. He was a Renaissance prince, fluent in multiple languages, and a patron of the arts and sciences. However, it was Henry's personal life that became the centerpiece of his reign. His desperate quest for a male heir led to a series of marriages, divorces, and executions that captivated and horrified his contemporaries. His first marriage to Catherine of Aragon ended in a contentious annulment, as Catherine failed to provide Henry with a surviving son. This marital conflict spurred Henry's break with the Catholic Church, leading to the establishment of the Church of England and the English Reformation. Henry's subsequent marriages were equally dramatic. He wed Anne Boleyn, whose fiery personality and failure to produce a male heir led to her execution on charges of treason and adultery. Jane Seymour, his third wife, gave Henry his long-desired son, Edward VI, but died shortly after childbirth. Anne of Cleves, his fourth wife, was dismissed after a brief and politically motivated union. Catherine Howard, his fifth wife, met a tragic end, executed for infidelity. His final wife, Catherine Parr, survived him, providing stability in his later years. Beyond his personal life, Henry VIII's reign was marked by significant reforms. His break with Rome not only reshaped England's religious landscape, but also led to the dissolution of monasteries, transferring vast wealth and land to the crown. These actions solidified his authority, but caused lasting social and cultural upheaval. Henry was also a formidable military leader, waging wars against France and Scotland to assert England's power. He invested heavily in the navy, laying the foundation for England's maritime dominance in the centuries to come. Yet, these military campaigns, combined with his lavish spending on courtly life and palaces, left the kingdom in financial strain. Despite his achievements, Henry VIII's reign was overshadowed by his ruthlessness and authoritarian rule. He was known for his swift and severe punishment of those who opposed him, including close advisors like Thomas More and Thomas Cromwell. His legacy is one of both admiration and criticism, a king who transformed England, but at great cost. Today, King Henry VIII is remembered as a larger-than-life figure whose reign left an indelible mark on English history. His story is one of ambition, passion, and power, offering lessons about the complexities of leadership and the consequences of absolute authority. Emperor Charlemagne, the father of Europe. Charlemagne, or Charles the Great, stands as one of the most transformative and celebrated rulers in European history. Born in 742, he united much of Western Europe under his rule and laid the foundations for modern European governance, culture, and religion. Often referred to as the Father of Europe, Charlemagne's reign marked the beginning of the Carolingian Renaissance, an era of renewed cultural and intellectual growth. But what made this Frankish king's legacy so enduring? Charlemagne became king of the Franks in 768 after the death of his father, Pepin the Short. He quickly set about consolidating his power, using military campaigns to expand his territory and secure his authority. Over the course of his reign, Charlemagne conquered vast regions, including Lombardy in Italy, Saxony in modern-day Germany, and parts of Spain. By 800, his empire stretched from the North Sea to the Mediterranean, earning him the title Emperor of the Romans when he was crowned by Pope Leo III on Christmas Day. Charlemagne's leadership extended beyond military conquests. He reformed governance by delegating power to local officials known as counts who were overseen by royal envoys. This system of administration ensured stability across his vast empire and became a precursor to modern feudal systems. Additionally, Charlemagne was a devout Christian who worked closely with the church, using religion as a unifying force. He promoted missionary work, standardized Christian practices, and supported the building of monasteries. The cultural and intellectual revival during Charlemagne's reign, often called the Carolingian Renaissance, remains one of his most significant legacies. He invited scholars from across Europe to his court, including the renowned Alcuin of York, to advance education, art, and literature. Under Charlemagne's patronage, efforts were made to preserve classical texts, standardize Latin, and improve literacy among clergy and nobility. This revival laid the groundwork for future intellectual developments in Europe. However, Charlemagne's rule was not without challenges. His military campaigns were often brutal, particularly against the Saxons, whom he sought to convert to Christianity by force. Thousands of Saxons were executed in a single event known as the Massacre of Verdun, an act that continues to tarnish Charlemagne's legacy. Additionally, the vastness of his empire posed logistical difficulties, and its unity began to unravel after his death. Charlemagne died in 814, leaving his empire to his son, Louis the Pious. Although the Carolingian Empire eventually fragmented, Charlemagne's influence endured. His efforts to unify Europe, promote education, and strengthened Christianity set the stage for the development of medieval Europe. Today, Charlemagne is remembered as a visionary leader whose ambition and reforms transformed the continent. He is celebrated as a symbol of European unity and cultural renewal, a testament to the enduring power of leadership guided by vision and purpose.